towards the end of the pregnancy, I was like sleeping 2-3 hours at a time anyways, because I would just be uncomfortable, or my back would hurt, or I have to get up to pee, or I have to get back down to drink water. Like there was always times I'd be waking up. So then I was like, oh, again, okay, whatever. Go use the bathroom, lay back down. But I couldn't go back to sleep, and I was just like tossing and turning. And then I get the urge to use the bathroom again. And I was like, has it been like 5 minutes since I had to use the bathroom? I was like, no way. So I downloaded the app and I started like timing it. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting these like strong, intense like cramps to go use the bathroom. So whatever, I used the bathroom again. I went in and out of the bathroom probably like 2 or 3 times. And then my husband wakes up and he's like, I think you're in labor. I was like, no, I think it's just the tacos. I think it's the tacos. I don't think it's labor. Oh, gotta use the bathroom. I went back in.
All right. Our reviewer of the week is K.A. Her. And she says, first time mom here. I have learned so much during this pregnancy, listening to multiple podcasts. I came across this podcast going into my 3rd trimester, and it became my favorite to listen to. It was both educational as well as positive and empowering. It just made me feel good. Stephanie knows what she is talking about, and her presentation is very down to earth and easy to understand. My favorite episodes are the birth stories. I love the way Stephanie approaches them and the questions she asks. I love hearing the different ways birth looks for every mom. I also love the mindset that they put me in, filling me with confidence that I can do this too. We are planning an unmedicated home birth, and I will be listening to this podcast till that day comes and even after. Thank you for helping me prepare for this birth. Thank you for your review. And I have another birth story for you. So for those moms who are just eating up the birth stories, I am one of them. This one is for you guys. So I am so excited to introduce Hannah, who actually, I should let you introduce yourself. I want to hear a little bit about you. If you want to tell our listeners, who you are, all that kind of stuff. I'm so excited that you're here.
Hi. So my name is Hannah. I am currently 30 years old. I've been married for about 4 years now. At the end of 2020, we got married. I am a stay-at-home mom, and I am obsessed with my essential birth, to be honest.
Yay.
What else? What else?
That's great. That's all we need. That's perfect. We'll just stop it right there, and I will put all of that up on the top. I love it.
Got it. Okay.
Tell me about this last pregnancy. So is what you shared with me before we started recording common knowledge, or is this quiet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I haven't posted anything about it yet.
Okay.
But it's fine to talk about.
Okay.
I'm going to post it probably this weekend or next weekend.
Perfect.
Sometimes.
And you'll have a little bit till this comes out anyways. Yeah. But so Hannah's here with me.
That's what I figured. I was like, I'll have a little time.
Yes. She's pregnant with her next baby. And so I'm so excited. This is so fun that you get to share your birth story of your last baby and you are preparing again to go through pregnancy. That's so fun. So talk to me about your last pregnancy. Was there anything off, or not even just off, anything that stands out to you or that you want to share with other people, or, I don't know, if you had a bunch of morning sickness or you tested positive for gestational diabetes or GBS, anything during your pregnancy that you want to share.
So my first pregnancy was textbook pregnancy. I did have a miscarriage before I got pregnant. So me and my husband were like, all right, let's do it. Let's start to have a kid. And then the first month it didn't happen. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Aren't you supposed to get pregnant the first time you try? I'm very confused about this. And I obviously did some more research. And then I did the ovulation strips month 2. I was like, okay, got it. I do ovulate. All right, let's do this. And then I got pregnant. And then the next day after I received the positive pregnancy test, I had the miscarriage. So I was like, okay, let's just chill. It happens. I didn't really get any information from my OB. We did all the tests. They're like, it just happens, I was like, okay. A month later, I got pregnant with my son now, Hudson. And then everything was perfect. I didn't get any morning sickness. I didn't even feel pregnant until I was 7-8 months. And I was like, okay, this is what it feels like to be pregnant. I'm getting some heartburn. I'm getting uncomfortable now. I need to stretch more. Doctor's office was great. We just went in. Everything was textbook fine.
That's awesome. That's perfect. How about as things progressed? Did you have anything as far as changing providers or changing due dates or talks of induction? Did you have anything like that during your pregnancy?
So I found your podcast. I was around 20 weeks because I was terrified of giving birth, to be honest, at first. So I was like, out of sight, out of mind. Like, I'm not going to give birth. It's fine. When we get there, we'll talk about it. And then I was just like in my car driving. I was like, let me like look up a birth podcast, just like to listen to one, see what it is. So then I found your birth podcast and I was just listening. And then I was like, oh, I should have asked all these questions to my provider. Like, I did this wrong. Whatever. It's fine. I'll do it at my next appointment. So at my next appointment, we started talking because I saw an OB. We started talking about like induction and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, you can't really plan a birth. So if it happens, it happens. I was like, what do you mean if it happens, it happens? Like, I'm young. I don't think I need an induction, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you can't. I could tell like you're very controlling. So you don't know if you might end up in a C-section or not. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was 2022 when I got pregnant. It was 2022. And my husband was still not allowed to come to the doctor's offices with me. He was only allowed to go to one ultrasound, which is the first ultrasound and then the anatomy ultrasound. So then I was just there like by myself most of the time. And all the questions were just like, yeah, sounds good. Any questions? No. Call me if you have any problems. And because I had a great pregnancy, I didn't really have any problems, any reason to call her. And that was it, really. I did like look into changing providers, but at the time that like, once I got my confidence in myself of giving birth and like education wise, once I got the birth course and all that, I think I was like 32, 33 weeks. And I was like, it's fine. I probably am not even going to have her as a doctor once I give birth. Like, it's not worth to go through it all. I already paid there's like, I forgot what it's called. There, you pay like the birthing fee before you actually give birth. So I was like, oh, whatever. I already paid the birthing fee. Like, if she makes it, she makes it. If not, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to be upset if she doesn't make my birth.
Okay. So you said you had an OB, and it sounds like you had the same OB
Yes.
throughout.
Yes.
So I'm like listening to you and like your personality, and I'm like, I think you're the kind of personality that you would need to have to deal with a provider like this. Because I am so curious to hear how things continued. But it sounds like you have to be able to stand up for yourself. And luckily, I'm just going to guess that that's who you are. So, but even the comment of like controlling and it might end in a cesarean. And I'm like, since when does personality mean you're going to have a cesarean? What an interesting comment.
I was like, I am a fit woman. What are you talking about? And then cesarean. I was like, wait a second here. Yeah. And when I told my husband that, and he's like, oh, well, isn't that normal? I was like, no, this is not normal. So a lot of it was like, I would talk to my husband about like anything I found or anything like on the course. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, no, this is not cool. We have a serious talk about this. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was fine having the OB, especially I was like apprehensive because of the miscarriage. I was like, oh, what if anything happens? It's fine. Like, I'll be okay, blah, blah, blah.
Got it. Okay. So talk to me about your husband. Was he pretty supportive? Like, it sounds like you were able to talk to him about certain things and you had good conversations. So what did that look like for you during pregnancy? And even like once you guys started taking the birth course, was he pretty like gung-ho about doing it with you? Did you just tell him what you felt like you needed to know? Like, what did that look like?
So the first thing I did was I bought him a book that I found on TikTok, actually. I was just like scrolling and a random book came up and they're like, oh, give this to your husband. So I gave it to my husband and he loved the book. He's like, oh, this is so cool. Like they're not demeaning me. They're not telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. Like they're funny in the book. Like they show you different ways to like burp your baby, which was cool. So it kind of like made him feel involved a little bit.
That's awesome.
The birth course, I just took by myself. I didn't even give him any information. I would just because I feel like it's a lot of information for men. So I was like, let me just give him the important bits and pieces and like what I think I'm going to need once the day comes. Like, oh, I want you to do this. I want you to rub my back. I want you to spray lavender in my face and make me calm down. And then it was very different than what I expected, but that's fine.
So, okay.
He was really good about like, so I am not very healthy sometimes, as in I love my Taco Bell, I love my McDonald's. Like when I go hard all day. So he would be like cooking me meals. He's like, no, it's fine. Just like eat this instead. Don't go to Taco Bell today. I was like, okay, all right. I won't do it. And then we got super into pickleball for a long time. I played pickleball literally up to 2 days before I gave birth. So we were super intense into it. And he would be like, all right, let's go play pickleball. I'm like, no, I'm tired. He's like, oh, let's just like hit the ball. You don't even have to move. Like if you want, like we'll just like get outside, move a little bit, play pickleball. I was like, oh, fine. So once I got out there, I was like, oh, thank you for bringing me out here. Like you pushed me a little bit. So he is definitely like helping me on the health wise because he's very like different than me. He's very healthy, takes his vitamins, is on top of himself, and I'm a little more calm, cool, and collected.
That's fun.
About all that.
I love that. Okay, so how about for you then, since you were taking the birth course and working through some things, what did you find that was really helpful for you or that you were really consistent about, things that you were like doing every single day or every week or, you know, things that were really helpful to get you prepped and not just physically, but emotionally too. So like both.
So I became a part of the Facebook group and I was reading all these birth stories. And I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. This is great. That's great. This is amazing. And then what really got me into the birth course at first was like once I read the podcast, then it was like, click this to see a few birthing like stretches or something to practice, the 3 positions to practice that you sent out for free. So I clicked it and I was like, that looks so easy. Are you kidding me? So I go down to do it at 22 weeks. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not as fit as I thought I was. Like I'm falling over. I'm literally like not balanced. I was like, okay, you know what? I need to get into it. Like I obviously don't know what I'm talking about. I need to like build my confidence up and actually take a course and get serious about like my body and giving birth. So then once I got into the course, I got the booklet. I got the actual birth course and then I got the physical book as well. And I'm so glad I got the physical book. It's literally like I have it in my what's it called?
Bookshelf?
Not cabinet. Bookshelf. Yes. The mom and pregnancy brain is outrageous.
It was a lucky guess.
Outrageous. Yeah. So yeah, I have it there and I like pull it out whenever I have I would just like flip through it nonchalantly and like look at the different positions of like knees up, hands on the ground. I was like, huh. And I would get into that when I was like 7-8 months and it felt very comfortable. It felt like it would relieve because as you get more pregnant, like you get tight in different places. And as the more you stretch and the more like I would do these moves I found in your book, I was like, oh, that feels great. I should continue to do this more. And then emotionally, I would say a lot of like the practice breathing, I did that for a little bit. I should have done it a lot more. I did not. I was bad on that. I was just like, oh, I'm breathing, that's fine. So I skipped over that a little bit. But most of it was like believing in myself, seeing the cues for pregnancy, for labor and things like that was what I learned mostly.
I love it. And so did you end up doing those exercises every day? Those 3 exercises? Were you pretty good about that? Good job. That's awesome.
Every single day. Yeah. I would, I got into yoga a lot. I would do it every morning, but I would always make sure to include the 3 exercises every single day and even twice a day sometimes. Cause I was like, oh, I have some time. Like I'll just like sit here, do cat cow. I'll sit here and like stretch a little bit. Like it's fine. I'm not doing anything right now. I bounced on the ball quite a few, not too much, but just like every other night, whenever I would remember, I'm like, ooh, let me get on my ball. And I'll just like bounce on the ball and watch TV with my husband. But I wasn't like quite as adamant about that as the stretches and the 3 motions.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so important. Just the fact that you're like, oh, these seem so easy and it's so simple, you know, and then you go to do it and maybe it's not, but I'm sure towards the end, like they should be easy. They are simple, right? But that's kind of the key is like just to do these simple things and it leads or just the thought of like, I'm watching TV. Oh, I'm going to grab my birth ball. I'm going to do some hip circles or just something that like helps our bodies be a little bit more prepared. So that's awesome. I think that's like beautiful that you're sharing that. Was there anything that you did in preparation for labor? So like red raspberry leaf, we're using clary sage, acupressure points, dates. Is there anything that you did to prep your body or the birth course was where it was at and you did all of that and kind of move forward?
Definitely when I was, I think 37 weeks, I was taking primrose oil. And then my provider told me to take castor oil when I was like 38 weeks roughly. And I went
Interesting.
the castor oil. So I used to take castor oil for I think it was for sleep my husband wanted me to take it for. So I tried it out and it gave me super vivid dreams. So I was like, let me take it every other night so that so I get some good sleep in still. And yeah, that was good. I think that was the only stuff I did for birth prep.
So castor oil, she had you taking a certain amount and each night was her recommendation?
Yeah, she didn't tell me an amount. She's like, "Oh, just take some castor oil every night."
Oh,
I said, "All right." So I
interesting.
took like a tablespoon, a little bit less.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm going to
Yeah, it
put for
does make me use the
everybody.
bathroom a lot.
Yes. That's exactly what it could do. Yes. For
A
everyone
lot.
listening, I'm going to include the Midwives Brew in the show notes for this episode. So, in case people are curious. So, oftentimes, if you're listening, castor oil can be used for a natural induction. If you're close enough to having your baby or past that 36 weeks and you're trying to get things moving for one reason or another, and you're trying to avoid medical induction, that can be used for that. And that's why I thought it was interesting that she's saying, have a little bit every night. It was such an interesting thing. And to hear it from an OB, like I kind of love it, but it makes me curious.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then the primrose oil too. I was like, okay, nothing.
Oh, that was that her recommendation
right, so
too?
It made me feel better.
Yeah.
That was her recommendation. Yeah.
So interesting. Because as you were like talking about her in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I don't know how. I mean, I don't have enough information, but she's saying some things.
It gets better.
Okay.
About her, you'll see.
Okay. Let's dive in. Let's get started with the birth. Did you, coming up to birth, did you have any like vaginal exams or anything that told you about where things like what was happening inside of your body? Did you choose to forego those? Where did you start at? And then let's dive into the birth. I want to hear all about it.
So I did choose to get, so at the OB's office, there was always like students there and midwives there and nurse practitioners. So there would be other people checking me every now and then. And they would always ask me like, oh, do you mind if she texts you? Like she's a student. She's never checked anyone and blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? Absolutely. Like I do believe that they have to learn some way and I don't mind. Like I'm fine right now. So I did get checked. I think it was 30, when was it? I think it was like 36 weeks. They would start checking me and I was roughly 2 centimeters dilated at 37 weeks. And I felt nothing though. I was just like, okay, you sure? All right. And then the next week I came back. She's like, actually, you're 1 centimeter. I was like, okay. I feel like I'm supposed to be progressing, but that's fine. I'm not going to take it personal.
Love it. Okay. So how many weeks were you when you went into labor and then how did it all start?
So at 39 weeks, I had my 39-week appointment. I went into the appointment and then she's like, oh, do you mind if the girl like feels your cervix to see like how dilated you are? I was like, yeah, sure. The girl puts her hand in and she like looks at the doctor and then she looks at me and I was like, okay, like what's the problem? And she's like, I can't find it. I was like, what do you mean you can't find my cervix? And then the doctor went in and she's like, it's right here. And I was just like laughing. I was like, all right, whatever, it's fine. She takes her hand out and then I was just like, I was ready because I heard about the mucous membrane sweep. So I was ready to like ask questions, like be informed. I was like, oh, so when are we going to do this like whole membrane sweep? And she goes, oh, we already did it. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you already did it? And she's like, oh, I just took care of that right now. I was like, cool. All right. I thought you were going to ask me, but that's fine. I guess you already did it. I mean, I was opting to have the mucous membrane sweep because my sister had her first baby at 37 weeks, very early. Not very early, but she had her first baby early. And then my mom had her first baby early as well. So in my brain, I was like, I might have mine closer to 38, 39 weeks versus later on. So whatever, after that, I left the office. We called my friends. I was like, oh, do you guys want to go do beer tonight? Not beer. They wanted beer. They went to a brewery. And I was like, I know this taco place. I'm super excited. They have birria tacos. We should go try them out. This might be one of the last times like I'm out as a single woman. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. We almost canceled. I was so tired. I was like, I think I'm going to cancel. I don't want to go. I'm tired. And then my husband's like, didn't you really want these tacos like for literally 2-3 weeks? I was like, I did. I've been trying to find these tacos for 2 to 3 weeks. Like, all right, you're right. Let's go for a little bit and we'll come back. We come back, we had a great time. The tacos were a little spicy, and once I got pregnant, I lost all sense of spice. Like, too much pepper, and I would be like, I need water, I need milk, like, I can't do this anymore, which I thought was funny. So then when we got home, we watched a movie. We went to bed like around 11 o'clock at night. I fell asleep. I woke up at 1:30 and I had to go straight to the bathroom. I was like, these freaking tacos. Like, that's what happens when I get too happy and I eat too much. Whatever, use the bathroom, go back to sleep, fall asleep. At 2:30, I wake up again. I was like, ooh, I have to use the bathroom. And then towards the end of the pregnancy, I was like sleeping 2-3 hours at a time anyways, because I would just be uncomfortable, or my back would hurt, or I have to get up to pee, or I have to get back down to drink water. Like, there was always times I'd be waking up. So then I was like, again, okay, whatever, go use the bathroom, lay back down. But I couldn't go back to sleep, and I was just like tossing and turning. And then I get the urge to use the bathroom again. And I was like, has it been like 5 minutes since I had to use the bathroom? I was like, no way. So I downloaded the app and I started like timing it. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting these like strong, intense like cramps to go use the bathroom. And then, so a little bit of my backstory, I've never had cramps as my period before. So I didn't know what cramping felt like for like birth. So whatever, I used the bathroom again. I went in and out of the bathroom probably like 2 or 3 times. And then my husband wakes up and he's like, I think you're in labor. I was like, no, I think it's just the tacos. I don't think it's labor. Oh, gotta use the bathroom. I went back in. I come back out and he's just like packing the car. He's like, let me just pack the car. Like, just in case, I don't trust you, Hannah. You look off. Like, let me just pack the car. I was like, all right, fine. It's fine. And at that point, I was like, I'm not having my baby today. I'm going to have my baby tomorrow for sure. Not today. So he starts packing the car, and then he comes back from the car, and I was like, okay, you know what? These are contractions. So I got on like my hands and I had my elbows up on the couch and I was just like breathing through it, because my husband's like, oh, I have to use the bathroom now. Actually, I'll be right back. And it was one of those like husband poops. And I was just like laboring while he's using the bathroom. I was like, is he serious right now? Oh my goodness. By the time he gets out of the bathroom, I was like, 100% these are labor contractions. We get in the car. We go to the hospital. The hospital is like 10 minutes away. At the hospital, they're like, I check in. They take 20 minutes to get me upstairs to finally be seen. Once I'm seen, they check me. They're like, okay, you're about 5 centimeters right now. And I can tell that you're probably in active labor, so we're going to check you in. I was like, okay, cool. And at this point, like, when I tell you I'm trying to like hold my legs together and wait for my husband, I was like, where am I? I'm waiting for a room. I'm waiting for my husband. We finally get a room around like 4:30 in the morning. My husband comes in. They check me again, and I'm like 7 centimeters dilated. And then I'm just like, I was like, so I finally relaxed. Husband's in my room. I called my mom, who lives down in Miami. So she lives like 35-40 minutes away from me. And then I feel the urge. I just looked at the nurse who was there, and I was like, I think I have to poop really bad. And she's like, no. I was like, I had a lot of tacos. I'm telling you, I think this is poop. Like, I was arguing with the nurse. I was like, I'm pretty sure. I know this is your job, but I'm pretty sure this is more tacos coming out. Like, I don't think this is baby. And then she looked at me, and then I went, huh! Like, I physically couldn't hold it. And I just, like, my body pushed, and then my water broke. And they're like, no, ma'am, you're in labor. Oh, and then they asked me, like, what's your birth plan? And I was like, if I needed nitrous oxide is my idea for pain. I wasn't opposed to an epidural. I was like, let me see, like, I've never given birth before. So I wasn't going to completely go against it. But I was more on the track that I wanted to stay natural 100%. And then I was like, oh, do you guys have the nitrous oxide mask? I didn't know this, but at the time, they couldn't find the mask to give me in the hospital. Like, nobody could find the thing that connects the mask to the actual nitrous oxide. So my husband was, like, looking for someone to find me the nitrous oxide mask. And then after that, 5:39, baby was born. I like 2 pushes and baby came right out.
Oh my goodness. That's insane.
Yeah, it was great.
How long of a drive was it?
So fast.
From your house to the hospital?
Like 15 minutes. Or it was probably 10 minutes, because we did take a red light. We did take a red light, so it was like 10 minutes.
Okay. And you kind of talked about contraction. That was like a whirlwind. When did your first contraction, when did you start going to the bathroom from your tacos versus when baby was born?
2:30 a.m. was tacos bathroom, and baby was born at 5:39 a.m.
My goodness. And this is your first baby.
And this is my first baby.
That is crazy. What was your mental state like during all of this? Were you like, I'm fine, it's gonna... And what were your contractions doing? Yeah. Sorry, I have like so many questions. So like how...
I know.
Like you said, like you had some like cramping early on, which you didn't have anything else to compare it to. And then like you said, like how close were those cramps together? And then what did your contractions start to feel like as time went on? Like, did you have any idea that things were getting as serious as like progressing as fastly as they were?
Yeah, so I realized I was having my baby probably when we got into the hospital room. Like till then, I was just like, mentally, I was like, it's fine, just breathe. It's like, I'm not having my baby just yet. These are contractions, like, you know, and I always had the mindset that labor isn't pain, that labor is uncomfortable. So you're never in pain, you're uncomfortable. And the uncomfortability is going to pass in a little bit. So like, just get through this being uncomfortable and then you'll be fine. And then I remember reading this thing. It was like, when you picture yourself giving birth, like picture a flower blooming. And once the flower is done blooming, like that's when the baby's going to come out. So I was picturing that and I was just cracking up when I was like probably 7 centimeters, right before my water broke. I was like, I'm a flower, it's blooming. And I just started laughing. And then right before that, then my water broke. So I thought that was funny. I was trying to bring like joy and laughter into it and like not try to take it as such a serious thing. Cause I mean, it is very serious, but like the pain aspect of it, I was like, I'm not in pain. I'm a blooming flower. It's fine.
And then how close were your contractions? Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, it was because when I posted, I wrote everything down. While I was in the hospital, I was like, 1 second. How many centimeters am I? Okay. And then I would put my phone down and then go through the contraction.
That's awesome.
I was 5 centimeters. Not 5 centimeters. It was 5 minutes apart when I was feeling like the pain across my belly. And it wasn't like intense pain. It was just like, ooh, what's that? And then it got more intense the closer it got. I do remember when I was like 9 centimeters, like right after my water broke, I just like looked at the women. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not pushing. Are you crazy? I was like, this hurts so bad. I was like, I can't do this. No way. I'm done. And then one of the women just like rubbed my back and she's like, you are so strong. I was like, I am strong. And then the baby popped out.
This is such a fun story, Hannah. Oh my gosh. Okay, right? So when you were like getting ready to leave your house, so it was your husband that was like, no, we're going, because at 5 minutes apart, right? And like it sounds like they weren't crazy intense, just more intense. And being the first baby, like even as a doula, there's a good chance I'd be like, well, you know, just give it a little bit longer and let's see. But like he knew. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so I have, I don't like to say a high pain tolerance. I don't like really show when I'm in pain too much. So like when my husband saw me for the first time ever, just like not really able to have a conversation while the contractions were going through, like pacing, like breathing. He's like, okay, no, this is labor. I was like, you didn't even read any labor books. How do you know? We were literally arguing about whether or not I was in labor. Like,
That's
you know
awesome.
What? Let me give my husband what he wants. I'll be a good wife. All right, let's go to the hospital. We'll just go to the hospital, get checked, and I'll come back and I'll be right and I'll be fine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so was this the same night? Like, did you go into the labor the night that you had the membrane sweep?
So I had the membrane sweep at 1:30 p.m. and I had the first contractions at 1:30 a.m. And then I went back to sleep and then at 2:30 a.m. So within 24 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
Sort of.
Yeah. That's crazy. And did you take castor oil that night too?
And then no, I didn't. I was getting too wild of dreams. My dreams were getting way too vivid. After I gave birth, my husband was like, oh my gosh, this is taking so long. And simultaneously, every single nurse in that hospital room was like, what? Next time your wife gets a tummy ache, take her straight to the hospital. He's like, this felt like forever.
Oh, that's hilarious. Did you tell him that? No, I won't go.
I
Anyways,
know.
that's so funny. Okay, so what was actually I am curious, and it doesn't necessarily correlate by any means, but you mentioned that you had like other siblings or like your mom that like, certain amount of times and everything. Do they also have very quick labors?
So my sister, her first birth, she went in and they gave her an epidural and the baby came out. I think it was like 6 or 7 hours later. With her second one, she barely made it to the hospital and it was a fast birth as well.
Wow.
So I think it's just like, I think there's something in our water.
I guess.
I don't
I would
know.
love that.
Because
Thanks.
so I'm one of four kids. So my sister her labor was like 2.5 hours, like my mom's labor with my sister. Mine was an hour. My brother was 30 minutes. And then the last brother, my mom says that he just like, he walked himself out.
That's crazy. That's insane.
Right?
And so cool.
Yeah.
That's such a neat thing.
So cool.
Yeah.
And mind you, like my mom never spoke about birth. She's like, yeah, I gave birth. It happens. One and done. I was like, okay, like, did it hurt? Do you want to talk about it? She's like, oh, we don't talk about pain in this family. It was fine. It came out. I was like, okay, that's all you have to give me? No other prep? No, you'll just have a baby. You'll see. I was like, okay. Oh, so by the time my mom made it to the hospital, baby was out and I was getting stitched up and done.
Was she not surprised?
One and done. She wasn't. She was like, oh, okay. She's like, I figured.
Told you.
I was like, okay.
That's so funny. Okay. Definitely not every mom's first experience and super incredible story. No. I love and you are just so fun to chat with. It was such a fun story to listen to.
Thank you.
Hannah, will you take a moment and tell everybody listening though your absolute best advice that you have for moms and best advice for dads?
So my best advice for moms would definitely be like, stay as active as you can. Do your research, do your stretches, try to eat as much iron as possible. And just like believe in your intuition because we were literally made to give birth. So at the end of the day, like you got this. For dads, I would say support your wife 100%. And definitely like read a little bit into it on your own so that the wife isn't the one driving the car, I guess. And what else? Remember I asked my husband, I was like, what was your favorite thing that like I told you about all the things I've told you? And he's like, I love that book so much. Like it was so helpful for me. It made me feel really included. I was like, okay. Not me telling you everything, the book you liked better than me, that's fine.
Helps to hear it from a different source, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. What a fun story. What a neat thing to be able to share with other women. And I absolutely loved having you here. Yes. So thank you for your time today.
Of course.